I know that there are a number of issues that are facing the constituents of Senator Vitter in Louisiana, and I look forward to hearing more about those concerns. But I want to take just a minute as I start to address some of the issues that are facing the fishing industry in New Hampshire and New England, and I'm pleased that my colleague Senator Ayotte is here, who also knows very well those issues. We are in the midst of a real crisis that has decimated the fishing industry in New England, particularly the small fishermen. Over the past few years, the federal government has required drastic cuts to fishing quotas for the Gulf of Maine cod, and current quotas are now a tiny fraction, about 5% of what they were just a few years ago. Cod is an absolutely critical resource in New Hampshire for fishermen and really across New England. In my state of New Hampshire, our fishermen typically have smaller boats. They fish closer to the shores, and their prime resource is cod. Now, because New England is managed as a multi-species fishery, the tight limit on cod really affects our fishing ability to fish for other species as well. So these cuts have been disastrous. Revenues have plummeted, and many fishermen have been forced out of business. The New Hampshire fishing fleet has shrunk from 26 vessels in 2010 to just about 7 right now. This has ramifications throughout our coastal economies, from offshore infrastructure to crew employment to local restaurants and to the tourism industry. The federal government declared a fishing resource disaster for the region several years ago, and we were able to get some much-needed disaster funds to the region, but the need is still very great. And to make matters worse, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, has decided to enforce a new fee for at-sea monitoring on New England fishermen, as much as $700 per observed trip. Now, I know my colleagues in New England and I have long fought the imposition of this fee, and we will continue to do so, because this is not a payment that the New England fishing industry can make right now, given the severe hits their incomes have taken over the past several years. And worse, this is yet another issue that affects small businesses much more severely. The per-trip fee is the same regardless of the size of a fisherman's vessel, but smaller boats, as we all understand, bring in a much less amount of fish and revenue per trip than larger ones. Now, I've heard from New Hampshire fishermen that this fee is entirely unaffordable and will be the final straw to force many out of the industry. In fact, one of the reasons I'm leaving here is to go to the Appropriations Subcommittee, where Secretary Pritzker, Commerce Secretary Pritzker, will be testifying, so that I can ask her about what the department is doing to try and address this concern that we have. I think we've got to do everything we can to protect the remaining small fishing businesses, and I'm grateful that 2 of our witnesses, who are going to be in the second panel, are here today from New Hampshire and Maine. Both are deeply involved in the fishing community in New England, and both have substantial experience and expertise in fisheries management. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I look forward to coming back to hear the second panel, and very much appreciate your letting me go first.